Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Nicola Donnelly, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Brendan Thomas. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Visitors who are able to be seated may now do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Claude Ernest Ward. Claude Ward was born in 1896 in the Victorian seaside town of Point Lonsdale. He was the third of 7 children born to Walter Frederick Ward and his wife, Julia, though his youngest brother, Albert, died in infancy in 1903. Along with his siblings, Claude attended the Point Lonsdale State School before finding work as a carrier. He was an active member of the town's local militia, spending 3 years in the cadets before joining the Light Horse. Claude enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 26th of July, 1915, having signed an oath of allegiance at Queenscliff 2 weeks earlier. As he was under the age of 21, Claude had to provide written consent from his parents in order to enlist. With their consent provided, Claude was allotted to the 3rd Reinforcements of the 23rd Infantry Battalion with the rank of private. After a month of initial training, Private Claude Ward departed Melbourne in HMAT Ankazi on the 26th of August 1915, bound for Egypt. There, Claude joined the 6th Training Battalion in camp at Zaitoun, where he remained until mid-March 1916. He was taken on strength of the 22nd Battalion on the 14th of March, 5 days before the battalion left Egypt for the Western Front. The 22nd Battalion arrived in France on the 26th of March and spent the next 3 months based in the trenches and reserve lines around the northern French town of Armentières. This area of the front was known by the troops as the nursery sector due to the relatively quiet introduction to trench warfare it provided new arrivals. In July 1916, the battalion moved into the Somme Valley. Here, the Allied troops were preparing for a large-scale offensive against the Germans, focused around the village of Pozières. The slightly higher ground around Pozières provided an essential advantage to German troops. Attacks on the German position around the village began on the 23rd of July, 1916. Over the next 42 days, the Australians made 19 attacks against German positions in the area, determined to regain control over the valuable high ground. The 22nd Battalion arrived at Pozières before dawn on the 27th of July as part of the relief for the exhausted 1st Australian Division. Less than 2 hours after their arrival, they were subjected to heavy enemy shelling. Although most of the shells failed to reach the front line where 2 companies of the battalion were stationed, they caused heavy casualties amongst the men in the support trenches. Fighting throughout the day was fierce, with near-continuous shelling by both sides hampering efforts to advance positions. By the end of their first day at Pozières, the 22nd Battalion had sustained 173 casualties, including 20 men killed. One of these men was Private Claude Ward, who, according to the reports that reached home in Point Lonsdale, lost his life while bringing in a comrade during a battle. He was 20 years old. Claude's remains were never recovered from the battlefield around Pozières. He is commemorated on the Villers-Bretonneux Memorial alongside the names of over 10,000 Australians who lost their lives while fighting in France and who have no known grave. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Claude Ernest Ward, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms and for the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.